Hello, everyone. My name is Lou. I'm working for Freelang, and I'm one of the guys that are working directly in the camps. So, if you're coming to our camps, we're going to meet sooner or later. I just want in this video to emphasize the importance of like security in the camp and some camps' most important points that everyone should know, as this has a paramount importance for our organization. So basically, in this video, I will talk about five points or topics. I will talk about each one of them, but they are like security always come first, full language immersion, professionalism, punctuality, teamwork, happy kids, our ultimate goal, importance of communication. So these are the topics that we will go through. I suppose most of you are already more or less aware what you can expect, but we will go a bit more in details so that everyone is aware of that. Security always comes first. So we want in our camps, of course, that the children have fun. However, the most important thing in our camps for us is that participants go back home in the very same physical and mental health condition as they arrive. By this, I mean that we try to do everything that is in our power to avoid any kind of risk that could cause their physical injury or to prevent any kind of event that can bring to some kind of psychological problems, for example, mobbing. So here are different examples and points that are connected to this. So we will go a bit one by one. I mean, students should never be alone on excursion to the lake. I suppose this is quite clear for you. Like when we are on excursion, we should always count them, always to know how many went there, how many should be there at the meeting point, because especially sometimes we would give them some free time to do some shopping, to have a bit of time for themselves at the excursion place where we will go. So it is very important that when we provide them this, that they are not going alone, that they are always going in some groups, that they have a camp leader phone number, and so on and so on. Of course, also during the time when they are in the camp, they are not allowed just to go out of the camp without a permission from one of the teacher or a camp leader. Especially, they are not allowed to go alone. Even in some camps, we have lake that is just next to the camp, and of course, they cannot just go to the lake on their own. Even in a smaller group, they are not allowed to go to the lake without any kind of supervision of one of the teacher and so on. So this is the second point. Like we, you should always be aware. Like of course, camp leader is the one that takes care that adheres the rules. Like that the kids are informed about that and so on and so on. But also, even if you're a teacher in the camp, not a camp leader, it's importance of teamwork, that you help camp leader to run the camp in a proper sense and that the kids respect the rules. One other thing is that often, like working in a camp is quite demanding in a sense that it's very dynamic. Basically, uh, when you wake up in the morning until the evening, you have to do the lesson, you have to do different activities, and so on and so on. And then some of the staff members, after kids go to bed, like to stay together, to chat a bit, to talk about experience in camp, to get to know each other, and so on and so on. And often this follows with a few beer and stuff like that. So whenever this will take place, just everyone needs to be aware that for some emergency reasons, at least one person with a driving license still needs to be sober in case something happens with one kid in the middle of the night, and so on and so on. Yeah, like on excursions, to give exact instructions where to go. I mean, this connect with the first point that I mentioned. I mean, it's very important also the communication during the excursion, to tell the kids where they should come, at what time they should be present, and so on and so on. So to avoid any kind of potential risk that someone will be lost or come too late and you cannot catch a train, and so on and so on. Prevent mobbing. I mean, this is not only for kids. I mean, of course, in our camps, we don't want that this also happen between staff. Like, this is no go for us, of course. Still, a lot more occasion it happens among kids. So you have a very, let's say, very good communication with the children that will come to your class. Of course, you're also going to meet the other kids to get to know them, but especially with the one that are coming to your class, please always have a communication with them, in a sense, if to keep an eye if you realize that maybe one kid is mocked by the others, which often always unfortunately happens in the camp. But the sooner we know about it, the better we can react and stop it instantly. Of course, also when we are going to the excursion, I mean, kids are kids, even though most of them are like in the age where they maybe already go to the school on their own, and so on and so on. But still, when they are in the camps, they are a bit naughty, not paying enough attention. So please be aware of that each moment. So when you are in a city or something, always remind them that they keep an eye on the traffic, and so on and so on. Full language immersion. Uh, Basically, like language immersion or like immersion program that we are running is like a learning method used in language education, for which every single activity a student performs is carried out in a foreign language. The language is therefore not simply taught as a subject to learn, but as a tool for students to communicate, learn, and have fun. So basically, in our camps, you have a privilege to have a very small groups. Like normally in regular schools, the class sizes are like 20 plus, plus there are different levels of children, so it's not very easy to make a efficient lesson, but you would have a very small class size of like more or less on average 6 children, but more or less same level. So you really have a possibility to prepare the lesson so that they can profit a lot. So we wanted you practice speaking as much as possible, so that they kind of don't have this fear of making mistakes, and that they try to talk with you. However, I mean, we really wanted like the whole day is kind of a lesson. So beside the morning language lessons, that in the afternoon and in the evening, you always try to talk with them in the language that they are learning there. So while they are there, that they have kind of focus that while they are there, all the activities during the excursion, they should really try to talk with you in this foreign language that they are learning there. So please be aware of this. So even if you are a French or German teacher, they are international kids, for example, that you can easily communicate with them in English. Try to avoid this. Try as much as possible to talk with them in the language that they are learning there. Even though maybe they are not children from your class, still, if you're a French teacher, you know they are learning French there. Try to talk with them always in French, for example. Professionalism, punctuality, teamwork. I mean, professionalism you can define in many ways. Like one of the definition is that it's a skill, good judgment, polite behavior that is expected from a person who is trained to do a job well. I mean, all of you, you definitely have enough skills. Otherwise, probably you wouldn't be given this job. So, but still, these skills that you have, you should perform well. I mean, just because you have skill, it doesn't mean that you perform it well. So please give your best to provide a good lesson. Please try to be a good role model there for everyone, not also for kids, but for to your colleagues as well. And just be kind of a teacher that you always thought when you were young that you had, let's say, opinion about that, and what would you expect from one teacher how to be. Be punctual. I think that this is quite clear. I mean, inside the camp we have a very time sensitive schedule, So if someone from the staff is not respecting the time, if someone from the children is not respecting the time, of course we will have a problem. So please be aware of it and respect uh, the timetable. Teamwork, I mean, like teamwork, it's by far maybe one of the most important things there. Uh, from, for example, as I said, like camp leader is there the main responsible person to take care of the children, but he cannot have a total overview of what is happening there in the camp at the very same moment. So one of the example of a teamwork is that you help camp leader to have control on the children, what they are doing. For example, after we put them in bed, if you see a kid wandering around out of his or her room, please tell that straight away to the camp leader or tell them to go back to the room. Like teamwork in the sense that you help each other, that everything is going well there in the camp. And of course, like the program itself, activities, afternoon, evening activities, you need to perform together. So help each other with that, cooperate, and so on. Happy kids, our ultimate goal. I mean, nowadays children are mostly on their phones and have questionable role models from different social media that are out of any kind of general control. Therefore, let's try to help them to be kids and to try to enjoy playing with each other, to communicate not only through their phones as in the real life, but also directly. And in general, summer camp is a great place for that. So let's have fun together with them. Let's inspire them. Let's try to emphasize the positive things so that because most of the kids, what they like in our camps is that they had a good time. Okay, they learned language, but often they write it from the teachers. They learned a lot about life. They got some new views on that, and that is what we are really trying to do there in the camp, if possible, of course. Uh, and happy kids, perfect camp. Like in general, when the kids are happy, everything was good there in the camp. Like the food was good, accommodation was amazing, the excursions were amazing, and so on and so on. So if they are going with a smile back home, as I say, everything was good at the end because their opinion is very biased and very subjective. And unhappy kids, like if kids wasn't happy there in the camp, at the end everything uh, will be a problem. Like they would say, oh, the food was too salty, accommodation wasn't clean enough, and so on, and all these detailed things, even though maybe they are not the best, maybe that's a realistic opinion, but still, if they are happy, they won't pay attention on that. The importance of first and last impression. That's actually a very important thing, especially for parents, but it's for the kids as well. Like parents, as parents, they booked our camps online and their only direct contact with the camp team, with the campsite, with us in general, that's connected directly to the camp is when they bring their children to the camp or to the train station for a company train ride. So this first impression for them shaped their opinion about the camp. So often it happens that some teachers were lazy to provide some information or they were lacking some information. They didn't perform in the best professional way how the parents would think that it should be and so on and so on. And then the problem is that afterwards, if a kid is not straight away happy or whatever, like the parents would be, oh, you see, I really had a bad opinion about that. I had a bad feeling. I knew that it's not a good place. So this first impression for parents and kids as well when they come to the camp, it's very important. So please be aware what camp leader is telling you that it's your role on this first day and try to smile, try to be friendly, try to be helpful, and this will help us a lot in order to achieve our main goal to have kids happy there in the camp in general, and of course the parents as well. Importance of communication. So nowadays, even though we have many gadgets and so on, like still there's some communication problem. And I mean, if we have good communication in the camp, many things are going to perform well. There will be a good atmosphere in the camp because lack of communication always brings different kind of problems. Camp is a very scattered place, so at the very same moment, I mean, of course, we have some common areas where teachers, for example, will meet. However, during excursions, while everyone is doing different activities and so on, everyone is on different place. So, especially for camp leader, WhatsApp groups and communication through them will be very important because otherwise he would need to run behind each possible person to tell them, okay, now we have meeting or I don't know, meeting place today for the excursion at this time there and so on. So that's why please have your phones with you, but then also pay attention to it because often teachers they have their phone but they don't check the messages. I don't know, the phone will be in silent for whole afternoon and no one will be able to reach them. So please pay attention on that, especially if you are at the lakeside during excursion and so on. Once again about excursions. So once again, I think I said already in the first point. So no one goes alone from the student during the excursion, during free time, and so on and so on. I suppose for everyone it's like a common sense why this need to be like that. And then the last thing about taking less risks into consideration. Basically, whatever you do in the camp, please always have in mind the risk that could cause any kind of injury, and therefore use your common sense and try to be careful in order not to perform it. For example, if we are going to excursion, for example, hiking, please don't go near the cliff. Okay, so there is cliff, you see it or you spot it. I mean, of course, please don't go with the kids. Oh, kids, there is a cliff from there. It's a beautiful scenery. It's a beautiful view, and so on. And then kids come and help us God, like not that someone falls down and something happens. So whenever are these kind of situation or even smaller situation, you're playing football, you realize that one child is incredibly aggressive, try to react in time. That we just try to avoid any kind of unnecessary situation that can lead to physical injury, for example. But as we were talking also about mental health of children, try also not to run any kind of activity that can make problem with some children that they feel that they are, I don't know, that can gain a lot less self-confidence in the sense that they are too bad in performing something and so on and so on. So basically, these were the points I want to emphasize. I hope that it's clear. Otherwise, if something is not clear, you can always ask some of the freelance staff member there on the spot when you come to the camp or even before it. Have a lovely day and see you in the camps. Bye bye.